This tutorial is brought to you by InformationAnalyticsInstitute.com.
Hello and welcome to another Information Analytics Institute video tutorial. My name is Dmitry. Today we will take a look at an example from Chapter 4 of our course, and in this video I will explain how to implement and use different insertion types on an example of this combo box, and how to set up dynamic visibility for the objects. Remember, you can download step-by-step instructions and files for this dashboard at our website. The link is in the description below. Okay, so what I have here is I have a prepared dashboard for this lesson. It has just a few objects on the canvas. This is just two charts that we will use later in the example. And it has some sample data in the spreadsheet in order to speed up the development within this video. These are just the tables we will use for different demonstrations and to actually build our dashboard. Okay, so let's start by going through the settings of the combo box. It's a selector, so it's right here under the selectors twig. I'm going to add a combo box to the canvas. Now, the combo box is your typical kind of a selector, but there are other selectors that exist in Xcelsius, and the settings for them are very similar, so they share almost the same settings. Like with the data insertion, they all share very similar data insertion settings, which are very important. The combo box itself consists of a button right here to the right of it, which opens the list of labels it has. It has an area for the label for the selected label, and once you click on the button, the small drop-down window appears here with all available labels, and if there are more labels than the area for them, there will also be a scroll bar that appears underneath. Okay, so let's connect some of the settings of the combo box. I'm going to connect the title to this cell, so it's charts. So there you can see the title appearing right there, and I'm going to connect the labels of it to these three cells right here. Now, with the labels, notice that I'm tying these to the spreadsheet cells. What you can also do is you can use this menu right here to manually enter them. So if I wanted this to be chart 112, I could do that. And now if I preview the dashboard to see the options available, you would see that actually says 112. And you can also notice that it's not tied to the spreadsheet anymore. So to tie it back to the spreadsheet, I have to repeat this again. So now it is tied to the spreadsheet and we have our labels selected. The selector is a component in Xcelsius which can insert data into the spreadsheet based on some action of the user upon it. So let's say if it's a combo box, when the user chooses something on it, the combo box inserts some data in one form or the other into the spreadsheet. That constitutes it being a selector or a control object, so to speak. Now, there are many control objects, and all of them insert some data one way or the other into the spreadsheet. They all have data insertion menu. This is the option where you select how exactly does the control object insert the data into the spreadsheet based on some interaction of the user with that object. I'm going to use this one series here for now, and let's go through different insertion types, through different data insertion options we have for this object to see how they work. Notice that this object has a lot of them. Some of the objects have slightly different ones, but these are the most common insertion types, so this would be a good example for almost all other objects in Xcelsius. The first insertion type is position. It is a default insertion type. What it does, it inserts a number of the labels selected in the combo box into the destination cell. So in this example right here, you can see there's a target cell, and as you choose the label, the corresponding position number of the label gets inserted into that cell. To demonstrate that, let's select a destination cell. We will use this I5 cell, And I am also going to use the Spreadsheet table component. This is a component that displays a piece of the underlying spreadsheet real time, so we can see how this object actually inserts data. So I'm going to display these two cells like so, and let's preview the dashboard and see how that insertion works. Now, you can see it's now empty. When I select one of the options on the combo box, you can see the number of the option gets inserted. So I've chosen the first label and number 1 is inserted. If I choose the third label, you can see the number 3 is inserted. And for 2, it's obviously 2. The next insertion type is label. It's similar to position, but instead of inserting a number of the selected label, it inserts the label value itself. So the text that there is for that label. In this case, we have chart 1, chart 2, or chart 3 text. So I'm going to use the same destination cell, and let's preview the dashboard now with the label insertion type selected. So again, if I choose chart 1, the actual text chart 1 would appear here. If I choose chart 3, obviously the chart 3 text would appear here. And this is another way to display this is with their I help. You can see here that it inserts the label itself. So the text that there was for the label, the text from one of the cells that we used for labels here in this menu. The next insertion type is value. Now this is the first insertion type that uses some source data. To demonstrate that, I'm going to create a column with that source data to be used right here, and I'm going to use just random numbers like these. And what this insertion type does is that it selects a value. It selects a value from an array. You can see here 4 labels and 4 cells right here in the array, and it selects an according cell and copies the value from it into the destination cell. So if you choose label 1, it would insert the first cell value into the destination cell. If you choose number 4, it would choose the 4th one. So the order of the cells and the values in them in this case does matter. So let's set this up. I'm going to choose source data. I'm going to choose these 3 cells. And source data is obviously the data where the component takes the data to use if it's required. So if this insertion type uses source data, these 3 cells would be used for 3 options that we have on the combo box for the 3 labels. The destination remains 1 cell. This will be this cell. And now I'm going to change this spreadsheet table a bit to show the whole table to aid the visibility of the data, like so. So let's preview the dashboard, and now you can see if I choose the first option, it inserts the data from the first cell in the source data range and inserts it into the destination cell. If I choose the third option, it would insert the number 4. And if I choose the second option, it would insert the number 7. The next insertion type is row. Now it's very similar to the value, but instead of inserting just one value, it inserts a whole row from the source data range. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to go to this I help, and you can see now you have rows of data. So you have an array, 4 rows and a few columns, and depending on the selected label on the combo box, it would insert an according row to the destination area, which is now a row as well. It should be a row with the same amount of columns. So if label 1 is selected, then the first row of the source data area would be inserted into the destination area, and they obviously have to have the exactly same amount of columns. To demonstrate that, I'm going to change the source data on this one to 2 columns now. So we're going to have 2 columns and 3 rows of data, like so. And I'm going to also increase the widths of the insertion area and change the destination area to 2 cells now, because we need to insert the whole row with 2 columns. And also let's change the spreadsheet table component to display all the data that we need, like so. And let's preview the dashboard to see how that works. Now, when I select label 1, it takes the whole row from here and inserts it into the destination area. If I choose number 3, this third label, it would insert the values from this row into this destination area. Now notice that we're using these areas and we have green cells and yellow cells. That is not technically necessary, but that is the way we color code cells in the spreadsheet to aid the visibility of the data flow. The green cells are the cells that feed the data to the components on the canvas. So these cells are used by some component on the canvas to display that data or to use it for the component. And the yellow cells are the cells where the components and specifically selectors and control objects insert the data back into the dashboard, back into the spreadsheet to control the logic inside. So into the yellow cells, the data returns from the canvas object and is inserted right into these cells. Okay. The next insertion type is column. It works in a similar fashion as the row does, but it inserts a column based on the number of the selected label on the combo box instead of a row. So let's choose column, and here in the iHelp you can see that depending on the label number selected, here you have the same source data, but now you have 4 columns because there are 4 options in this example, and there is a target column or the destination area, and it should be a column as well with the same amount of rows in this case. And as you choose a label on the combo box, the corresponding column with the same number as the number of the label on the combo box is inserted into the destination column, into the destination area. So to demonstrate that, I'm going to expand this table even further and insert some random numbers right here. So now we have 3 columns, and I also have to change the destination area to be a column as well with the same amount of rows as the source area, with the source data, because when the column gets inserted, the column would have 3 cells into it, 3 rows. So I need the same format, the same amount of rows for the destination area. Now let's change the source data to these 3 columns, to this array, and change the destination area to this column right here because we're inserting into this column. And also I will change the spreadsheet table component to display the appropriate cells, like so. And let's preview the dashboard and see how it works. Now, when I select a label on the combo box, the corresponding column is inserted. So this is column number 1, and you can see that the values from the column 1 are inserted into the destination area. If I choose label 3, you can see that the data from the 3rd column is inserted into the destination area. And so for the label 2, the data from the 2nd column is inserted into the destination area. The next insertion type is status list. Now what that does, it inserts the array of zeros with the same amount of cells as the amount of options on the combo box, but it only inserts a number 1 into the cell which is currently selected, into the cell which corresponds to the label, number of the label which is currently selected on the combo box. So you can see label 3 is selected, and the 3rd number becomes a 1. If the first one is selected, the first number becomes a 1. To demonstrate that, first of all, I would clear this source data, like so, because there is no source data in the status list insertion type. It always inserts zeros and ones, so it's kind of a boolean. And we will use the same format of the destination area. It's going to be 3 cells, a column of 3 cells. And I'm also going to change the spreadsheet table component to display the appropriate cells from the spreadsheet. Now let's preview the dashboard, and you can see here that when I choose 1, the number 1 is on the first position and 2 others are zeros. If I choose the 3rd label, the 3rd cell will become 1, and two others would become zeros. And if I choose the second one, then the middle one would become 1, and all others are zeros. This is very useful. This saves time with additional logic in Excel, for example, for dynamic visibility, which we'll review later in this video. When you want, for example, to multiply a number by this, and so when it's 1, then it would become the number required. If it's 0, then it obviously becomes 0. Now, the last insertion type is called filtered rows, and what that does, that filters the rows from the source data area and puts them into the destination area. And what filters means is that it uses the first column, or it uses the labels to filter the data. So when the label on the combo box itself matches the value in the first column of the selection, then that row is transported into the destination area. And if there are a few, like in this case, letter A matches, it would transport 2 rows into the destination area. If it's a letter C, then you can see here it inserts all 3 rows into the destination area. So it filters the source data based on the label and inserts the ones that match that label into the destination area. Notice that the first column, the orange column in this example, is the labels. It is not selected in the source data window, it's selected right here in the labels window. So to demonstrate this, I am going to go and use this table we have right here. And I'm going to change this to C, so we have 3 options right here. 3 rows would be available. And now I would change the labels on the combo box here in the labels menu to this column. But since we're using the filtered rows insertion type, it would filter them, so it would use distinct values. You would see it's going to be just A, C, and B. And if I preview the dashboard right now, you would see that there are still 3 options, but their order is different. It's wrong. And the reason for that is that C appears earlier than B in this list, so it just filters them and does not sort them. Okay, so the source data for this would be these cells right here, the 6 rows we have right here, because we've selected 6 rows for labels, and the destination area would be 3 rows. Let's actually make it 3 rows, because we have 3, maximum of 3 possible rows. If the selection is C, these 3 rows with letter C to the left of them in the filter column would be inserted into the destination. So I will choose the destination, and for the destination I will choose these 3 rows of cells. Now let's change the spreadsheet table component to display the source and the destination data, so it's obvious how it works. Like so. There we go. And let's preview the dashboard and see how it works. So what it does, when I choose the letter A, it finds all the rows in this area, in this array, where the letter A is to the left, this label area right here, this column we used for the labels for the combo box. In this case it's 2 rows, the row 1 and row 2, and inserts the data for those rows into the according destination cell. So you can see 2 rows right here. If I choose B on the combo box, it will be just 1 row, because there's only 1 row with the B letter for the label. And you can see here the numbers 18, 114, 1909, 37,804, and 411,777 match the row with a B label to the left. If I choose C, it's going to populate all 3 rows, and you can see the sequence is exactly the same. It populates this number first, this number second, and this number third, because all of them have the C label to the left, and it puts them right into this column right here. So you can see 77,421, 29,494, and 70,047 all in this column. Okay, so I'm going to delete the spreadsheet table component for now, we don't need it. And The next setting I want to show is clear destination when no selected item. What this does is when by default the combo box is empty or it becomes empty by some other influence from some other control object, so meaning no option is selected, then the destination cell will be cleared from anything that is in it. To demonstrate that, I'm going to reconnect this combo box to proper labels like so. I'm going to change the insertion type to value, select the source data to these 3 cells, point it to these 3 cells, and I'm going to remove these 2 cells because we don't need them anymore, like so. And I'm going to set the destination for the combo box into this cell right here. Also, I'm going to add a spreadsheet table component to display the cells we want to display, to visualize what is going on, these cells right here. Now, I'm going to type some test text right here. You can see it appears here on the spreadsheet table, but when I run the dashboard, when I will preview it, since the clear destination when no selected item is checked, the combo box will clear that cell because there's nothing selected. And now if I select something, you can see the value appear on the right here on the in the insertion cell. So the chart 3 is the 3rd label and number 4 is displayed right here. If I turn this off and the default stays blank for the combo box, so it's blank by default, nothing is selected. If I preview the dashboard, you can still see the test text right there, and only when I choose something in the combo box, then it would get replaced by the corresponding value. Now the next setting is insert on, and you have 2 options here. You have data change and interaction, or you can choose interaction only. Now what that controls, it controls when does the destination cell get updated. When you actually interact, when you actually select something on the combo box, or also when the source data for that selection is changed in the spreadsheet at the same moment. To demonstrate that, I'm going to add a dual slider. It's right here under single value dual slider twig. And what I will do is I will set its values to control these 2 cells, this cell and this cell. And these 2 cells are used as source data for the combo box. You can see these 3, so these 2 are used as well. And I'm going to just delete these 3 cells because we will not use them anymore, like so. So the idea is that the dual slider will control the values in these 2 cells. But this setting here, the insert on, would control either the values are updated in the destination cell in the yellow cell right away, even when I change the value in these cells, or will they be updated only when I change the selection on the combo box. So for now I'm going to leave it data change and interaction, and if I preview the dashboard and I choose first option, the chart 1, so it's number 5 using the value insertion. Now if on the dual slider I change this 5, notice that the insertion cell immediately obtains the same value. So the data change in this case works instantly. So it changes in this cell and it immediately changes in this cell. And if I change it to chart 2 to this value, if I reinsert a value by tweaking the position of the slider on the dual slider, again, the insertion cell immediately gets updated. Contrary to that, if I change it to interaction only, what this will do, it will update the destination cell, the yellow cell, only when I change the selection on the combo box. So to demonstrate that, I'm going to choose chart 1, which will insert the value 5 here. And now I'm going to change the dual slider value inserted into the source cell for the combo box. And notice the value here is 26, but the value in the destination is not changed. And it would get changed only when I get back to the same selection, so it gets updated. Now it obtains the value 26. Similarly, if I change to chart 2, the second label option, you will see 71 got inserted, but now if I change this 71 to some other number, it doesn't get updated, and it only will get updated once I go back to chart 2 like so. The next setting I want to talk about is the Behavior tab, and right here you have Selected Item. This is the setting that controls the default selected item on the combo box. Here we have three types of judging which one is selected. We have the label, the position, and dynamic. What the label does is it, let me just clear that. What the label one does, it selects the label which matches the value in this cell. So if I enter something like chart 2 into this cell right here, which matches the label for the second option, if I can just manually choose which one would be the default, or I can tie it to the spreadsheet. And now if I click on this one and click OK, you can see that chart 2 immediately got selected. The other option to do this is position. It works similar way as the insertion. If I enter position, let's say 3 into this cell, and now I tie the selected item to this cell, you can see that the third label got selected automatically as a default label for the combo box. Now if I choose dynamic, so this one is the combination of the label and position options together. So first it tries to match the label, then it tries to match the position, but the position for this component, for this setting, it starts from 0. So this would be 0, 1, and 2, contrary to 1, 2, 3 as it usually is in Xcelsius, for I don't know what reason. So the dynamic one first tries to find the label in the cell, in this cell right here where it's tied to. If it fails to do that, then it tries to find the position number and shows the appropriate position number. If it fails to do both of them, it would just choose the first option on the combo box as a default. To demonstrate that, let's connect it to this first cell right here, and you can see it immediately found the chart 2. Now if I change this number to 2, you would see it would go to chart 3 because it starts from 0, so it selected the third option. If I change it to 0, it would go to first option, like so. And if I type something that is not appropriate, like let's say test, it will just select the first value, or let's say 4, which doesn't exist. There's no number 4, no fifth label in this combo box. So number 4 would also tell the object to select just the first label in the combo box. The next very interesting function is insert selected item. What that does is it's basically a duplication of position insertion functionality. So it inserts the position, but what it also does, it's backwards compatible. So it if some logic or component or object changes that position inserted into the cell to, let's say, -1, then it will return the combo box into the state of nothing being selected. And this is the only way to do that, to return a selector object into -1 state. If the label insertion is selected, then it has to be a blank cell to return it into no selection state. If it's a position, then it has to be -1 to return it to no selection state. Okay, the next important setting is ignore blank cells. If you select it, it would ignore the blank cells. In the case of this object, it would ignore blank cells in the labels. So currently we have 3 labels, and 3 labels are displayed as options. If I remove the third label like so, and preview the dashboard, you can see that here in the list there are still 3 labels, just the third one is empty, it's blank. But if I actually click on it, it still selects the value and inserts it. If I check ignore blank cells in values at end of range, what it would do, it will actually remove that option altogether because the label is not there. And so now we'll have only 2 options in this combo box. Now that is very useful when you have a variable amount of labels, so the menu doesn't look as if it has 15 options when there's only 1 or 2 when it is dynamic. So let me return that word back here, we will need it in the future. Okay. The last setting on this tab is dynamic visibility. The dynamic visibility controls the visibility of the object while dashboard is running, and that can be dynamic. That is very useful to build some logic for things to appear and disappear on the dashboard and to aid interactivity. So it has 2 fields in here. It has status field and key field. The status field can be tied to a cell, which returns some value with logic, with Excel formulas, and when that value returned into this status cell matches the key, and you can manually enter the key or choose a cell for that as well. Let's say key was 1, then when the status field returns 1, then the object will be visible. Otherwise, it would disappear, it would be suppressed, so it would not be visible, it would be basically totally transparent for both viewing and controlling other objects through it. So that is a very convenient and powerful feature. The next tab is animations and effects, and here we have drop-down animation, so the animation of the drop-down list appearing, it gets animated, again just graphical. Enable sound enables the default sound for any interaction with the object. If it's a control object, then it would be basically audible when you control it. We have entry effect, which is the effect with which the object appears when the dashboard is running, just running, so when you launch it, or when the dynamic visibility controls the object to appear. So when using the dynamic visibility logic, the object appears, or when the dashboard is launched. Let's choose fade-in effect at 4 seconds, and now if I preview the dashboard, you can see that the combo box is appearing for approximately 4 seconds. It's fading in. Notice that you can control it right away, even while it's fading. Okay, the next big tab is appearance. This controls the appearance of the combo box. And here we have 3 tabs. The first tab is layout. The first setting here is number of labels displayed. This controls the number of labels that are displayed simultaneously on the drop-down list underneath the combo box. So currently we have 3 options and 3 labels displayed simultaneously. So if I preview the dashboard, you can see that the list contains 3 labels, and there's no scroll bar to the right here because there's no need to have one. If I decrease this number to 2, let's say, so I want just 2 labels to be visible at any given time, you can see here that there are just 2 labels visible, and the third label is accessible via the scroll bar like so. This can be very useful if you want to limit the height of this window for whatever reason. Like in this case, you might want to not overlay the chart with this, so you don't want this to obstruct the chart underneath. Let's get this back to 3. The other setting here is list transparency, which is making the list background transparent. The drop-down list of the combo box. Let's preview this and look and see how it looks. Here I can click on this, and you can see all 3 of them now visible, but you can see that the borders of it, as well as the highlight for hover over and selected item, are now transparent. The text didn't become more transparent, so that is always staying totally opaque. Now let's change this to 0 again. Let's go to text. Now the text controls all kinds of text there are available for this component. So for the combo box we have the title and the labels. The labels cannot be removed because otherwise the component will not be usable. So here you cannot uncheck them not to show them, but you can uncheck the title, and I will do that on an example of let's actually show it on the title. You have a choice of font, you have the choice of font size, the style, bold, italicized, or underscore, you have alignment, and you have the color of the text. As well as that, what you also have is you have positioning, so you can place it to top left, for example, like so, or totally to the left of the component. You can also set offset, like in this case, you can move it by 1 pixel to whatever direction you want by X and Y axes. So in this case, I'm gonna uncheck the title. I don't want it to show. For the labels, we have the same kind of settings, but there's also the number format. Now, the labels could be any kind of number, like a date, or for example, currency. And if I was displaying a currency, I would choose currency mode. I would, for example, turn on the $ prefix, and I can change the negative number display, I can change the amount of decimal places displayed, and so on. For this one, we will stay with numeric. The last tab here is color. This controls the colors of almost everything on the combo box. Now you have the color of labels, so basically the text color for the labels when it's just there, when you hover over it, and when you select it, when it's selected. So you have 3 different colors for 3 different states. You have the label background color, so it's the background color. This default color is just the background color for the whole box around the labels in that drop down window underneath the combo box. The overcolor is the color that the background gets beside that, underneath that label which is currently hovered over, and this color is underneath the label which is currently selected. So you can change all 3 of those colors as well. You have the drop down button, this very square button right here, control, and you can control the background and the arrow color when it's not pressed and when it is pressed, to distinguish those if you want. And you have the scroll bar colors, the scroll bar that we've seen before. You have the track color, you have the thumb color, so of that thumb, of that switch which you move up and down. You have the button colors, and you have the button symbol color. So you can control those, all of those as well. The final tab is alerting, which we have already covered in another video on the Information Analytics Institute channel. The link to that video would be in the description below. Shortly, the alerts are a vehicle to display color-coded alerting based on some value or logic to aid conveying some information, like something is bad, so the object becomes red to indicate that. Things like that. Again, that is covered in more depth in our previous video, the link to which you can find in the description below. Okay, so let's go to the actual example, to building the actual dashboard. Okay, so let's start by removing everything we don't need. We will not need the old combo box and the spreadsheet table object, so we just delete those using the delete key, and let's recreate the combo box from the ground up. So I'm going to drag the combo box component right here to the canvas, and let's configure it. Let's set the labels to the proper cells right here. So these are going to be our 2 cells we will use. We'll just have 2 of the labels. I'm going to change the insertion type to status list. You can see here already I have the default data entered. And I'm going to choose the destination. Notice again, the source data does not exist for this insertion type. It just inserts 0s and 1s. And I choose these 2 cells to be the insertion, the destination. Now notice that I've already entered the default values. These do not affect the dashboard while it's running, but these help to visualize, to make the dashboard look as if it's running while in the design mode, in order to see possible issues or to see how would it actually look. So we have that. Let's change the default selection to the first label, to the column chart, and let's actually make it maybe even a bit wider. So that's it for our settings for the combo box. Now let's change actually the last thing, we will change the number of labels to 2 labels displayed, like so. Now let's set the visibility of the charts. We have 2 charts here, one right on top of the other one, and we will configure their visibility settings so they are displayed or not displayed based on the selection on the combo box. Now the pie chart is here on top. For the column chart I will use the object browser to access it because it's right underneath and I cannot select it on the canvas. So let's start with the column chart, and I will go to its behavior tab, common, and here I have the dynamic visibility. So it's already connected, but let me show you how it's connected again. It's a column chart, so it's the column chart cell right here. So I select it, and the key for the object to be visible is 1. Since the status list in the combo box inserts 1 only for the selected item, only for the selected label, then the 1 would mean that the object should be visible. So when the status field, in this case the B5, the same field where the combo box inserts 1 when the column chart label is selected on it, Since that field gets the number 1 at that moment, I want the key to be 1 as well for this object, for the column chart, to be displayed once the column chart is selected on the combo box. Similarly, on the pie chart, for the same setting, I would set it to look at this cell, at the B6, for the pie chart, but it would still look for 1. So when the pie chart is selected on the combo box, the 1 would be inserted into this cell and will not be inserted into this cell. So that will result in the column chart to get suppressed and the pie chart to be displayed. So that's exactly what we want to happen. So let's use the spreadsheet table object again to display these cells right here to see how they work. And let's preview the dashboard and actually see how our suppression logic with the combo box works. Now the column chart is selected, and indeed you can see the column chart displayed right here underneath, and you can see 1 against the column chart and 0 next to the pie chart. So the pie chart is currently suppressed because the key for the pie chart to be visible is 1. If I change the selection on the combo box to pie chart, notice that 1 appears next to the pie chart and the value next to the column chart becomes 0, thus suppressing the column chart and displaying the pie chart. So this way you can switch in between two of them even though they occupy the same space. That is a very powerful concept, allowing for interactivity and to basically preserve space to show more possible ways, more possible data dependent on a selection in some control element, like so. So let's get back to the final dashboard. There it is. It's basically the same concept. We just have 4 different charts to display here, but it works with the very same manner, with the very same logic. Remember that you can download the files as well as step-by-step instructions for this dashboard at our website. The link is in the description below. I hope this helps. Subscribe to our channel to get more tutorials like this one. Thank you for watching and good luck.
Here at Information Analytics Institute, we provide remote and on-site Crystal Dashboard Xcelsius training for people who want to start building interactive dashboards or seek to get better at it. The dashboards that are built during the training course cover numerous useful Xcelsius components, methods, and dashboard building techniques to get you started building dashboards in no time. We provide training for database and Lawson connectivity, where you can learn to connect dashboards to various data sources. We also provide audit and completion services, where we audit your existing dashboards for compliance with dashboarding best practices or complete any dashboard that you have remaining unfinished. For more information or to contact us, visit our website at www.informationanalyticsinstitute.com.